So, of course, we will be getting to the tips for round 4. So, we start off gather round with Adelaide v Melbourne. Big game Thursday night. I have gone with Melbourne to start off gather round. After that, we've got Brisbane versus North Melbourne. I've picked Brisbane. Friday night, I've picked Port Adelaide over Essendon. Saturday afternoon, I've picked the Swans over the Eagles. Saturday evening, I've gone with a bit of a surprise pick. I've gone Fremantle over Carlton. Saturday night, I've gone Geelong over Western Bulldogs. Sunday afternoon, early game, I've picked the Giants over the Gold Coast. Sunday mid-game, I've picked St Kilda over Richmond. And the last game of Gather Round, I've picked Collingwood over Hawthorn. So who have you gone with your tips this week?
I've went Melbourne over the Crows, Brisbane over North Melbourne, Port Adelaide over Essendon, Sydney over the Eagles, Fremantle over Carlton, Geelong over Bulldogs, Giants over the Gold Coast, the Saints over Richmond, and Collingwood over Hawthorn.
But guys, before we get into more of this video, BR Designs, our very own design company, is your one-stop shop for all your AFL prints. We have designs for every single team, from Collingwood to the Giants, so make sure to head down to the description below and find your desired AFL design. And don't worry, as every 6 to 8 weeks, guys, we're going to be releasing brand new and exciting designs for every single team. So make sure to keep an eye on the BR Design social pages, and make sure to use our unique features with our design of scanning your QR code will actually bring up on your phone the highlight that you have the design for. And don't forget at the checkout to use code YouTube for 10% off your purchase for the next 48 hours. So getting quick, guys, let's get back into it.
Okay, so surprisingly, we've gone with the same this week.
Yeah.
So let's start with the first game of Gather Round, the Crows versus Melbourne. And this is a big game for both teams. Melbourne, I was a bit surprised that they went back to Victoria.
No, they've confirmed that they're going to stay in Adelaide and they're going to do their training at West Adelaide.
Okay, so that's good to see. So Melbourne decided to stay here because obviously played Port Adelaide last week. They play the Crows to start off Gather Round. I think it's a little bit unfair that Port Adelaide didn't get the game this year to start off Gather Round. I thought that because the Crows had it last year as well. I thought Port Adelaide would get it this time. But anyway, doesn't matter. The Crows desperately need a win this week. They have not won a game so far. They lose this one, they're 0-4. And it's going to be really hard to see them making finals from there. They're at home, but I've still tipped Melbourne. You've done the same. Why have you gone for Melbourne?
I just think they look gelled as a team. And the forward line for the Crows is just so disjointed at the moment. And their midfield just aren't connecting with the forwards of the Crows. They say Stephen may return. I don't know if he will. I know he's in Adelaide because he made the trip last week. I just think that the Crows just look all at sea at the moment. They just can't do anything.
Yeah.
And for not kicking a goal for like 40 plus minutes, 50 plus minutes against the Freo shows a lot for a team that was the highest scoring team last season. And because it is at home, I still think it'll be a bit close as a game, but I just think Melbourne still have the strength over them.
Yeah, I've kind of gone a similar way. I think it will be a pretty close game. I picked Melbourne by 20 points. But Melbourne have looked good the last few weeks. I'll be interested to see if the Crows actually target Max Gawn, because I'm surprised not many teams have done it since the Swans did it in round 0. Crows just can't get it inside forward 50 with any sort of effective disposal. They look terrible going forward. Taylor Walker's in pretty poor form, and he's had to, in the last year and a bit, he's been in really good form for the Crows.
Yeah.
So when he shut down, Fogarty hasn't been able to deliver at all. Thilthorpe's obviously out. Burgess has honestly looked like one of their better tall forwards, which is not the best. Rankin's been shoved into the midfield every now and then, and he hasn't had an effectiveness up forward. So I'm interested to see how the Crows structure up at forward 50. But against the Demons' defence, which is looking pretty solid, especially if Stephen May comes back, I think Melbourne will be good enough to kick a winning score here. Yeah. That's why I've kind of gone on that side. Now, Friday night is Port Adelaide versus Essendon, another big game. I think the tips to choice here on the official AFL app has picked a 90% pick rate for Port Adelaide. I think this is going to be a very close game. I think Essendon are in with a bit of a chance here, because I think if Essendon bring the effort and the defensive pressure that they brought against St Kilda in the second half, I think they'll give Port Adelaide a real shake here. I have gone Port Adelaide because I think at home they're going to be good enough here against Essendon. But Essendon won in Gather Round last year against Melbourne, and it was a bit of a shock. I just think Peter Wright out. I think they're going to struggle up forward. I think the Port Adelaide can hold up down in defence. I think the tall forwards of other clubs in the past have been able to take control of Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
And the fact that Peter Wright isn't there, I think they're going to struggle when they go forward. Kind of the real reason why I've picked Port here.
I've went Port Adelaide for well, not the opposite reason, but the other side of the coin. For the forward for Port Adelaide, we got Dixon, Todd Marshall. Georgiades played well in the SANFL last week. He may come in for Finlayson. They don't know yet. They might bring in a second ruckman just to stretch the defence of Essendon. And
Who have been playing 2 rucks themselves.
Yeah, and Essendon have always had a prone of the big bustling forward conceding a lot of goals. So I think that will work for him. And I think last week against Melbourne, Port Adelaide just lost it in the end. Near the end of the game, I just think that they're going to try and clean that up during the week.
Port Adelaide are a pretty big response team too.
Yeah, and if Asava Radiculaire does that again on the goal line, he should be dropped because that was utterly pathetic.
I don't think I mentioned this in the review, but there were 4 times in that game in Port Adelaide where they conceded goals because of mistakes made on the goal line.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw. You didn't see the game.
I didn't see the game.
If you watch the game live, they actually made 3 or 4 mistakes on the goal line that could have saved goals. The Windsor goal late in the game, obviously the Radiculaire one as well. There was, I think, a Max Gawn goal that kicked that would have been touched on the line if Port Adelaide were paying attention. And there was another one, I believe, as well. So if Port Adelaide cleaned that up, they win that game.
Yeah.
So
well, they won every stat, so they should have won it in the end anyway.
Yeah, Port Adelaide, shot themselves in the foot a lot of times in stages in that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now to probably the game, which I was surprised that you tipped differently. This is a bit of a, a bit of a surprise tip for both of us. Fremantle over Carlton. Now, I don't know if you believe... I think this may be the reason why you've tipped them as well. Carlton have a terrible record at Adelaide Oval.
Yeah, they've only won, I think
they
haven't won it at Adelaide.
I don't think they have.
No.
Yeah.
And last year in Gather Round, they didn't show up against the Crows. So, do they not show up again?
I think that they'll show up. I just really like Fremantle's defence here.
Yeah.
Something, I'm going to talk to you about a little bit later. But Fremantle had a really good performance against the Crows. They kept them to 4 goals. Yes, the Crows didn't play that well at all. And their connection between midfield to forward for the Crows wasn't very good. But Fremantle looked like they can finally find a way to score here. And I think Fremantle also have a good duo to go against Mackay and Curnow here. I think that's a really big chance. I think they're one of the few teams that can cover both of them. And I just think that Carlton's record here is pretty dismal. So that's kind of the reason why I've gone for Fremantle. They don't have the better record. They don't have that good a record here either. But I just think Fremantle are in some really good form at the moment, hence why I've gone for them here. Why have you gone for them?
A bit of the defence as well. They do have a better defence. I think they do line up well against Carlton. I just went with the smalls for this game. I don't think the small forwards for Carlton can be there for him. I think that with the fact that it's going to be Alex Pearce and probably Luke Ryan that go to Curnow and Mackay.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the one that's going to score the goals if they don't score? Because last week they kicked 9 goals against North Melbourne combined.
Yeah.
And who's going to do it if they don't do it? Matt Owies
had a pretty good performance against North Melbourne. But yeah, I think that they're going to have to get a lot of goals from their midfielders.
And yeah, the small forwards for the Freo have performed okay so far this season.
I've liked Michael Walters so far this season.
Yeah.
Despite him kicking 5 or something against the Crows.
Yeah, if he kicked straight, it would have been easy 7 goals, easy.
Yeah, 6 or 7 goal performance. He's deserved that too. He had missed a couple of really easy opportunities.
Yeah.
And then to the last game I want to talk about is St Kilda v Richmond. Interesting game, this one. I think Richmond, if they can bring the pressure they did against the Swans, they'll win this game.
Yeah.
We saw that against Essendon that they capitulated under the pressure. So this is at Norwood Oval, so I'm very surprised because Richmond have a very big fan base.
Yeah.
But they were a pretty poor team last year, so I kind of get that. But this will be a very interesting contest between these two sides. Would not be surprised if Richmond can win this one. I've picked St Kilda though because I just think that they're the better team here. I don't know if Richmond can back up that performance against the Swans because I think Richmond played out of their skin against Sydney. Not to say Sydney played that well, but Richmond, their pressure for the majority of the second half was above 200. That is really good from them. I don't know if they can back that up, which is why I've kind of gone St Kilda here.
Yeah, I've kind of went the same way. I just think that they line up better, this St Kilda midfield, compared to this midfield of Richmond.
Yep.
I just think they're a bit more experienced with Steele, Sinclair, and the likes around them, with Rowan Marshall. I just think that that's where it's going to be won easily.
All right, well, that's the tips basically
Can we talk about one more game?
All right, yeah.
Can we talk about the Swans West Coast game? Do you think they're going to kick 200 points again this year on that ground?
No, I think that West Coast will come back. I don't think they'll let that happen. But I will say West Coast have been the worst team of the year so far, by a margin.
By a margin, they have been.
Well, look, you look at the Crows. You look at the Crows have performed pretty poorly at the start this year. Hawthorn haven't started as well as I thought they would have. I thought they would have been competitive in their first couple of games. Maybe they played well against Geelong today. I don't know. But West Coast have looked the worst team by a margin.
And I'm sick of the fact that kid looks good. That kid looked good. But what about the experienced players? Besides Elliot Yeo, no one else is actually doing anything at the moment, really.
Him and McGovern are the only two experienced players that I've put my hat on so far as like decent playing. They've been playing decently. And let's be honest, Elliot Yeo's like a new recruit. He hasn't played the last 2 years. And the same thing goes for McGovern.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the look at for the tips, guys. Quickly looking at the league, I just want to bring this up because I thought it was funny. You're right down the bottom. You're not really doing very well for us, Jack. I'm really disappointed in your effort so far.
Well, I tried to go through some roughies and they both shit the bed. But
yeah, well, I've done pretty well this week. I've got 4. A couple of people in the league have got 4 so far. Obviously, if Geelong go and win today, most people should have 5. I'd be very surprised if anyone tipped Hawthorn. But nonetheless, at the moment, the current leader by 2 votes, or 2 tips, is Brandon S. Congratulations, man. I saw you in the stream a couple in the week, so congratulations. You're in front at the moment by 2 tips. That's a pretty it's a pretty good lead to start off the season in round 4 or 3. You are currently leading in the AFL tipping comp for the league, and of course, if he goes on to win it, he will win a $125 gift voucher to the AFL store, along with an A3 print of his choice from our very own design company, BR Design.